Today we're down here in Pottawatomie County in Shawnee, and joining me is Carla Smith, who is the horticulture educator here for OSU County Extension. And Carla, you guys have a unique demonstration plot that we're actually standing in the middle of here. Tell us a little bit about this white clover plot and why you started this.
Yes, this is Dutch white clover. And we began this project just kind of from conversations that we were having with a lot of different clients and at conferences and meetings where it's like, what else can we use for our lawn space besides Bermuda grass or turf grasses? Mm-hmm. And so there were a lot of questions. And then as those conversations were happening, coming home and looking at our property here and really, how do we make a different recommendation if we haven't tested it out? Okay. So we looked at this area of lawn that was really below average. It had some Bermuda, quite a few weeds, and it just wasn't thriving as it was already.
And it's kind of a small little parcel, like you're kind of crammed in here between a few things.
Yes, this is about 1,000 square feet. So when you think about a homeowner's location, a size that maybe they could consider, or just large enough to test, but not the entire area.
Right.
And then we have a butterfly garden that our master gardeners manage. And so we needed a buffer zone between the garden and our lawn space. And this actually has served really well for that.
Okay. So, yeah, this is not necessarily a substitution. We still might need that turf area to play and have recreation or whatever. And you guys have that out front here.
Yes.
But sometimes there can be drift if you're using chemicals or things like that, right? And of course we want to protect our butterfly garden. So
yes, we had the 10th anniversary of the garden last year, and so there has been quite a lot of investment with that. And we try to think also about a lawn alternative, but like how can it be beneficial? Mm-hmm. And so the flowers and the extra nectar for our butterflies, so it really complements our butterfly garden, and yet it's also a way to kind of test out a new conversation that's happening in a lot of circles.
Okay, so let's talk about kind of the timeline. You're going into the third summer with this, right? Tell us a little bit about how you established it and when.
So this was planted in early May of 2023. Okay. So we were looking at a pre-plant application of an herbicide in order to get rid of what Bermuda was here, or at least to knock it back a little bit. Mm-hmm. And so 10 days later, we came in and did the seeding application. This soil is actually a fairly heavy soil texture. And so it was also aerated at that time. Okay. And so it was actually a light rain the day that it was planted. And within 5 days, we had a cool season. Normally, I wouldn't recommend planting clover in May, but the timing of our weather, we just had that window of opportunity where it really worked well. And within 3 weeks, this was completely green with the newly established
And that's from
clover,
seed?
From seed.
Okay.
Yes.
So yeah, maybe a little late because this is a cool season crop. So let's talk about that, because obviously Bermuda's warm season. So we're looking at a different season for this material also.
Yes. So we were able to get it established and begin to see how it was going to perform heading into the summer months. But we also had a lot of rain that year. Okay. So in a normal year, I think we would have hit more challenges. But because of the nature of this location, actually, the building shades part of this space over around midday to late afternoon. So the areas that got full sun further this direction were a little bit more of a challenge. We could tell that it stressed a little bit more as the temperatures rose in July. But we did have enough rainfall. We actually didn't supplemental water a whole lot. The first year, this was probably only watered 3 times. Okay. So it stayed really nice the first summer. The second summer, we had a lot less rainfall. So we have had some periods of time where it hasn't been real attractive, but that's also kind of why it's on the back side of the building. Mm-hmm. It's not that front lawn, front entry look that you might want.
And of course, we're kind of right here at the end of the peak season with the flowers and everything. And while it's not native, right, and that there's a big definition to that, but it is native to Europe. It is a good pollinator plant because of these flowers.
Yes, it's a great pollinator. We have a lot of bees. St. Gregory's Abbey has a lot of beehives. They have honey production.
Okay.
And so a lot of times we will see, we're assuming, some of their bees here. We have bumblebees and butterflies. We also see birds in this area at times. And it's just been a wonderful addition to the butterfly garden to supplement nectar at a time when our butterfly garden is still sleeping.
Yeah.
So it's been a big benefit. We do let it just go to seed, and the flowers that are beginning to brown will go ahead and shatter and go to seed, and we just let them, and then we usually will get a secondary bloom for quite some time in the fall as well.
Okay. And I know maybe people aren't going to convert a whole area to clover, but to be aware of it, because we have some in our backyard garden concept where we've just let it grow, and it's kind of like let it do its thing for a while, and you know, if it's in a Bermuda grass, kind of mow around it and offer it to the bees that way too. So can you share a little bit about what some of your constituents here have said and responded to your demonstration?
This has been rather interesting when we start talking about some of our conservation ideas, and some people really like the high maintenance lawn look. And so, but for many of us, you know, that may, the thought of a patch of clover may take us back to our childhood when we were playing in the yard. I know in my yard at home, my dog loves the clover area because she just goes and lays down and it's cool. And
Right.
I mean, even as children, a lot of us would, you know, play in the clover in our yards. A lot of our cattlemen plant clovers in their pasture for the livestock, you know, for winter forage. And so it's been an interesting feedback that we get depending on their perspective. Mm-hmm. And so we do have a few that don't like it not being a very manicured, mowed look. So we do have some that when they see clover, they think that it should be taken out of the lawn. And so there are different perspectives, but when you look at a neighborhood or a home situation, that homeowner gets to make those choices.
Right.
And so this is just kind of an example of what it may look like. And we have been very, very open with the good, the bad, and the ugly of what this is sometimes, because it's not 100% pretty all the time. And even today we have a little bit of grass in it, and that will be addressed over the next few weeks. Mm-hmm. But it's not a no maintenance. It does require some hand weeding. The first summer we had amaranth and chamomile and nutsedge and a lot of things that we would just need to hand pull. So it does still require maintenance to get some of those things out of the space because we're not spraying this.
Or you can have more biodiversity if you left that there too. So yeah.
Yes. We have a few of our things from the butterfly garden that have migrated. Last summer we had some zinnias and sunflowers that were germinating that had blew over into the space, and we just let an area of zinnias bloom.
Right.
So it's kind of it's serving our purpose to test it out and let people see a real look of what that may look like.
Well, Carla, thank you for sharing this great demonstration and giving us another alternative to Bermuda grass.
Thank you for coming.
We hope you enjoyed this video as part of our Oklahoma Gardening YouTube channel. You can also find even more videos on the OK Gardening Classics YouTube channel. And join us on social media for great gardening tips, photos, and discussion.